Tuesday to the Ungovernables, the Captain's Crew, the LFA family, McGroin Nation. Coming to you live from the deep red state of Tennessee on rumble.com/LFA TV. Welcome to Ungoverned. Happy Tuesday. We thawed out a little bit yesterday. It's 42 degrees here in Middle Tennessee today, which is nice, considering it's been about 40 degrees colder than that for the last, 1,000 years. It's been so cold. But we're here. We're ready to go, rocking and rolling on a Tuesday morning. It's going to be a very busy show today. Very, very busy with some very encouraging news all around, actually. You know, yesterday we kind of did some tough love. We had to do some tough love, right? We had to do some tough love because of the Texas Senate District 9 stuff. We're not going to dwell on the negative or dwell on, the fact that was a bad indicator. It was a bad indicator, but we're not going to dwell on that. We did that yesterday. We know what must be done. And I think we have a bit of a plan that we can implement. One search, 12 searches a year, first of every month, how to never miss elections, right? So we're going to leave that in the past. I've got some encouraging news today. A possible change to the filibuster may be on the way. Now, I say maybe, I say it's possible, because nothing's done until it's done, right? There have not been changes made to the filibuster yet. There have been rumors. Now, I have to say this. Some people may get mad at me for saying it, but that's okay. Consider the source of the rumors. The reason why I am more optimistic about this than I would be normally considering the source is because of who was there with the source of the rumors when those rumors were put forward. All right. You guys know how I feel about Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. I don't think she's a trustworthy person in terms of some of the things that she says. I don't think she's a credible source of information. I have seen her make claim after claim after claim, and it falls flat. For two examples, last year after Bindergate, with the Epstein files, she posted that night, phase 2 is coming soon, then deleted the tweet, acted like she never said it. There were multiple occasions where she said Jerome Powell was being fired. His firing was imminent. That was about 8 months ago. He's still the chairman of the Fed. She likes to engagement farm on social media. Here's the thing, though. Yesterday with Anna Paulina Luna, and she spoke about this to reporters. It wasn't a post, but she spoke about this to reporters. There was somebody else standing with her who I hold in very high regard, who I think is incredibly trustworthy, who I think is incredibly credible, the oxymoron there, and that would be Congressman Tim Burchett. Burchett was there, and I think because of that, I'm willing to look at this rumor and say, you know what? There may be a there. There may be some fire before that smoke. Now, I have comments from John Thune. John Thune alluded to that might happen, but the bill has to make its way back to the Senate, this whole night. We're going to go through all of it because I'll tell you what, this is the best step in the right direction. If there are a lot of people, a lot of Republicans, old school Republicans, etc., who do not want to nuke the filibuster, right? They don't want to get rid of the 60 vote threshold. The compromise here and the middle ground, which is something that we've been talking about for probably the last 2 months, right? Is if you don't get rid of the whole thing and you don't get rid of the 60 vote threshold to end debate, right? If you don't get rid of that whole thing, then at least bring back what the filibuster was supposed to be, which is essentially an endless debate, endless speech on the floor of the Senate so that the legislation never comes to a vote, right? That's what the filibuster was supposed to do. The filibuster was supposed to say, oh my goodness, this guy's going to literally read from a phone book for the next week and then pass it off to somebody else who's reading from a phone book and then pass it off to somebody else who's reading from a phone, and so on and so forth. That was supposed to basically be a leverage play to get both sides in the Senate to come to the table, negotiate a deal, and pass a piece of legislation. The thing about it is, in this day and age, both sides don't like working together. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's just the way it is, right? That's just the way it is. Water's wet. Sometimes it sucks that water's wet because when you go out in the rain, you get wet. And it's like, oh, this is terrible. I'm wet. I'm cold. But water's wet. It's not dry. It's wet. That's just it. That's just the fact, right? So we look at the filibuster now. If we're not getting rid of the whole thing, this is a good middle ground and a step in the right direction. At least make these people actually filibuster. There's no reason why the threat of a filibuster should be treated as the actual thing. Right? There's no reason why that should be the case. If you're going to have a filibuster, then you should require that anybody who engages in filibuster is actually filibustering. How many times can I say filibuster in the same sentence? But you get the point, right? You understand the point that I'm trying to make here? Because then it actually does become a battle, a war of attrition. Do you think the Democrats, like, remember what Cory Booker did for like 24 hours or whatever it was, or 12, whatever it was. And he sat there, he said he was on the Senate floor, his eyes were bugging out of his head. And it was like, is he filibustering? He doesn't have to do, he was just on there giving a speech. I think it was like, maybe it was a way for him to kind of get out in the news to promote his book. I think that's all it was about. If we're not going to get rid of the whole thing, this is a good move. This is a good move. So, I'm very excited to see that this may be the direction that it is actually going in. Now, me, cautious optimism, healthy skepticism. There's also a little bit of Jets fan in me that's like, until the clock says 0 and you have more points, you did not win yet, right? Because they always, bad teams find a way to lose, and Republicans love shooting themselves in the foot. So until it happens and until it's official, it's not official. But it looks like we're moving in the right direction. And that is positive. That is good. That will help us move things through the Senate. What you would have there is the talking filibuster, as Senator Mike Lee calls it, the standing filibuster, as others call it, right? That will be the new normal in the Senate, where if you're going to block legislation, you are going to be up on the floor of the Senate speaking and endlessly speaking for hours on end until you're done and somebody takes over. And I'll tell you one thing right now, that is not going to look good for the Democrats if they do that. If you have Chuck Schumer, who probably can't stand for more than 2 hours, if you have, Cory Booker, if you have Amy Klobuchar, right, who's less desirable than eating concrete, if you have, Elizabeth Warren on the floor of the Senate. We will filibuster everything here until we have health care for all, and illegals too. Right? If you have all those people, think about all these people. They're going to have to stand for hours on end. How long do you think Bernie Sanders can act? I can stand for about 2 hours as long as I'm being paid $25 an hour. Then I will stand for 3 hours. Think about it. How bad that's going to look. The public already thinks Congress is a clown show and the Senate is a clown show, because it is. But could you imagine Democrats trying to block legislation, for example, the SAVE Act, right? Which says you have to prove that you're a U.S. citizen in order to register to vote. I know, the horror, right? Oh my gosh, the absolute horror of saying, are you a citizen of this country? If you can't prove that you're a citizen of this country, you have no say. The horror. But could you imagine a common sense piece of legislation like that? And you have Chuck Schumer, you have Pocahontas, you have Bernie, you have Cory Booker, you have Amy Klobuchar, you have, what was his, remember the guy, Jose? It's not his real name, but Padilla, Alex Padilla of California. You've got these people. Think about it, right? Adam Schiff reading from a phone book. You think the Democrats are going to get a positive approval rating from that? They're literally not just wasting the Senate's time, they're wasting our time to block common sense legislation. Government shutdowns, things of that nature. You really think that's going to look good for them? This is basically going to make them look like complete idiots when they get in the way of things, because now they're going to actually have to perform. They're not just going to be able to go, well, you don't have the votes. They're going to actually have to perform and do something. And the something that they're going to do is going to look ridiculous. Ridiculous. So All I'm saying, I love the way this is moving. I love the way this is going. If you're going to keep the filibuster, at least make it something real. So the zombie filibuster, as they're calling it, may be on its way out. And that, to me, is fairly exciting. Fairly exciting. We got a couple more things. Hey, this is going to be weird, right? This is going to be a little weird today, guys. But we are going to commend and applaud the Department of Justice. Listen, they've been on their game the last couple days. They've been on their game. Pam Bondi did two things recently that I think we're going to be very excited about. One thing we're going to be like, all right, good, right? Status quo. The other thing that's been done here by Pam Bondi, I think we're going to be very excited about. There is a special prosecutor that has been appointed. And goat kisses lip balm. It has been going by in the ticker, I believe. This is a big deal, I think. This is a very big deal. A special prosecutor looking into election fraud at the federal level all over the United States. That is a very big deal. We'll talk about that. Bill and Hillary Clinton have bent the knee. They are going to be testifying in front of Congress in the Epstein hearing. Donald Trump struck a deal with India. We love India. We struck a deal. They're allegedly, the framework of this deal, or the goal of this deal, is to get them to stop buying Russian oil, which is an economic way, more pressure to end the Ukraine war. And the NFL. The NFL cannot get out of its own way. Cannot get out of its own way. Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the National Football League, he needs to go. I understand the league is successful. The owners love it. They're all making money, so he's not going to go. That guy is such a moron. This comment that he made about head coaches in the NFL, just get out. Nobody wants to hear this crap from you. Please stop. Please stop. The NFL has finally started moving back in the direction of sanity, and then he says something like this. Just so stupid. We'll get to it if we have a chance. Obviously, this is not a football show. We do one every Saturday, the Rumble Rundown. If we don't get to it here today, we can get to that on Saturday. All right, let's get to a word from our friends over at OFP Farms. It is OFPFarms.com. OFPFarms.com. OFPFarms.com, promo code SHAWN, nestled in the scenic foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains. OFP Farms is more than just a farm. It embodies a tradition of quality and care, proudly operating since 2014. OFP Farms goats are lovingly raised, roaming open pastures and breathing fresh air, which ensures that the milk produced is of the highest standard. From their creamy goat milk soaps and moisturizers to the nourishing tallow-based balms, each product is thoughtfully crafted with your family's well-being in mind. OFP Farms is committed to sustainable farming practices, providing natural and wholesome products that you can rely on. Whether you're in search of gentle skincare solutions or you simply wish to indulge in the purity of farm-fresh goods, OFP Farms warmly invites you to explore their website. Check it out, OFPFarms.com. Their mission is to bring a piece of their farm into your home, nurturing your family with the finest that nature has to offer. Be sure to visit that website again, OFPFarms.com, and use the code Sean, SHAWN, for 10% off of your entire order. That is OFPFarms.com, promo code Sean, SHAWN, OFPFarms.com, promo code SHAWN. Nice Valentine's Day gifts here, folks. And Easter's right around the corner. So check it out, OFPFarms.com. Who wouldn't want to get an Easter egg? And then, you get the kids, people around the house. You can hide some Goat Kisses lip balm inside the Easter egg. It's the best Easter egg gift you can get. Screw chocolates. This stuff is so much better, and it's better for you. OFPFarms.com, promo code Sean for 10% off, SHAWN. OFPFarms.com, promo code SHAWN.
And if you guys follow them on social media, their stories, a lot of times they'll post behind the scenes of them walking with the goats, taking the goats and the dogs on a walk, and talking to the goats by it's so cute. So if you follow them on social media, you'll see a lot of the their life.
Yeah.
I love watching it.
Yeah,
you
get to see it. You get to see where your products come from. Yeah. They love their goats. They do a great job with them. And I think their goats love them back.
The goats love them.
Yeah.
Well, the goat had a feed bag stuck on its head the other day, and they were just laughing. Like, like it was absolutely...
Goats are kind of funny.
It was so derpy.
Like, goats are pretty funny. They're pretty hilarious. And their goats are cool. So, you got Cleo. You got them all. All right. Let's jump into this filibuster story, okay? Again, I say consider the source. I'm cautious whenever I hear something coming from Anna Paulina Luna. It's not personal. It's just because of her track record of saying things that don't happen. All right. I mean, you say, well, it kind of sounds like you're taking a shot. I'm just pointing out what she has said. And then when the things that she says don't happen, that's it. That was also the, voting by proxy. She made a push for that. Like, no, you vote in the House. That's your job. Okay. Whatever. It's not a personal thing. I know she's on the right side of the issues. I think there's a little bit of, I want attention, and she's not the only one in Congress who does this, okay? So this is not the bash Anna Paulina Luna fest. This is, I hope she's right, and I think the fact that Tim Burchett was with her, and that gives me a little bit more confidence that what we're talking about here is actually going to come to fruition. So I want to play for you her comments. This is Anna Paulina Luna and Tim Burchett. Last night, this is big news if it's true and if it comes to fruition. Now, it's not up to Anna Paulina Luna to end the filibuster. She can't do anything about it, right? She's in the House of Representatives. So in this case, it's not one of these things where, she says she's going to do something and then she doesn't do it. No, this is her saying, based off of conversations that she had with Senate leadership, this is what she's been told and what she thinks you can expect. Let's take a listen to Anna Paulina Luna. She's standing there with Tim Burchett. Very encouraging news regarding the filibuster.
And Representative Luna and myself are not willing to allow that.
So based on your discussion, it sounds like you're moving towards.
Yes, based on our discussion right now, we're moving towards it. Also, we got assurances on the standing filibuster, which is incredibly important. I don't know if you guys remember when I was talking about inherent contempt. A lot of people didn't know what that is. The standing filibuster is an old school parliamentary procedure, but it's a way to break through what we consider traditional norms to get voter ID passed. I think that it's brilliant that they came up with it, but exactly that's why we kind of have these discussions, and we're very happy about the outcome. So there should be a vote. There should be a standing filibuster announced soon, and I would actually reach out to Senator Thun's office to ask him about that because they have different rules in the Senate.
So that'll get you to yes tomorrow on the rule.
Yeah, as of right now, we feel very comfortable where we're at based on what we are discussing.
Can I get your reaction to the Clintons agreeing to testify before the Oversight Committee?
I actually just got back from the White House, so that's our first knowledge of that, but I would say that, I actually had inherent contempt prepared for it to be a civil, essentially charge of $5,000 a day.
All right, so there was Anna Paulina Luna talking about, she said, we got assurances on the standing filibuster, right? Or the speaking filibuster or the talking filibuster, however you want to refer to it. It's all the same thing. Mike Lee on X says the same thing here. Last night. I am thrilled that there has been so much talk today about reinstating the so-called talking filibuster, the antidote to the, quote, zombie filibuster, in which senators can delay legislation indefinitely without having to speak. It is past time to return to the talking filibuster, especially for legislation overwhelmingly supported by the American people, but stuck in Senate gridlock. And it is past time for the Senate to pass the Save America Act to protect our elections from foreign interference. And when he says foreign interference, he obviously means non-citizens coming to the United States, registering to vote in these blue states. And I'm sure there's happening in some red states, too, where things are falling through the cracks and influencing our elections. The left told us for a long time, Russia, foreign influence, Trump is compromised. Meanwhile, it's them that is actively encouraging foreign influence in our elections, period. So the talking filibuster, the standing filibuster, however you want to talk about it, the original filibuster, the OG filibuster is a good middle ground, I think, in order to bring these pieces of legislation and to the floor of the Senate and pass them through after a full vote. Under a standing filibuster or a talking filibuster, again, these are interchangeable. There's no difference between the two, okay? Under a standing filibuster, senators who want to delay a bill must actually stand and speak and debate. Once debate ends, only 50 votes are needed for passage. Now, I want to be very clear. The left, the mainstream media, they are, please pay attention to this. This is where the gaslighting is going to come in. If John Thune, and I say if because it has not happened yet. Okay? So again, cautious optimism, healthy skepticism. Until I see it, I haven't seen it, right? Like, I can't tell you that a movie's good until I go see the movie, right? I can't tell you that it's raining outside until I see that it's raining outside, right? So until I see it, until it happens, it hasn't happened. That's not me saying it's not going to happen. All I'm saying is it might happen. It just hasn't happened yet. Okay? This is very important. This is very important. What the media, what the left and the Democrats are going to do, they are going to say that Republicans are nuking the filibuster. They are not. Republicans are not nuking the filibuster. Republicans essentially are reviving the filibuster, an actual filibuster, not just a threat or what's known as the zombie filibuster, where if you don't have 60 votes, why you don't even invoke cloture. You never try to invoke cloture, which is, what you have to do to end the debate. That is how the filibuster was supposed to work. It was supposed to be, you wanted to block legislation? You got to grind. You got to get up. You have to speak indefinitely until the other side capitulates and says, okay. We'll add what you want added. But then you had these people in Washington, I believe, it was in the 70s, I think, turned it into a quote unquote zombie rule that lets senators halt bills or kill them or keep them from being voted on in the full vote without actually having to show up. The filibuster requires that you are there, speaking, standing on the floor of the Senate. John Thune says John Thune says he will bring the SAVE Act to the floor without the 60-vote zombie filibuster, meaning senators must debate and 50 votes can be possible for passage. Let's see what John Thune actually said, though, because people have reported that he confirmed it. Folks on X last night said, Thune's on board. Well, it sounds like he's on board, but I didn't hear confirmation in this clip. Let's play it. It's still moving in the right direction, okay? Check it out.
Repeatedly urged the passing the SAVE Act as well as many MAGA Republicans. What is the holdup in the Senate? Why hasn't that been brought to the floor for a vote? And what's your stance on requiring proof of citizenship to vote in elections?
Well, I'm for that. I've co-sponsored the SAVE Act in the past. I think my understanding is that they are still modifying the bill. It includes right now a requirement that you be a citizen to register to vote, but it doesn't include a requirement that to vote you be a resident. So in other words, if you're going to have what we call voter ID or photo ID when somebody goes into the ballot box to vote, that's not currently covered in the bill. So that's been fixed and addressed, and I think the new bill that comes out hopefully will deal with that. But I mean, at some point we'll have that vote. I'm for it. I think most of our colleagues in the Senate are, and I don't, it hasn't had consideration in the relevant committee yet. But I know there's a high level of interest among our members in getting a vote on SAVE Act.
Okay, in that clip, that was one of the clips that was, floating around social media last night saying Thune said he's bringing it to the floor. Well, he didn't mention anything in that clip about nuking or not. I don't want to use the term about changing the filibuster rules. Okay. Democrats have threatened to shut the government down rather than allow a vote. Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer has openly warned he will force an extended government shutdown if the SAVE Act reaches the Senate floor. Quote, I have said it before and I'll say it again. The SAVE Act would impose Jim Crow type laws to the entire country. Think about this. He wants to tell you that this is that the SAVE Act requiring citizenship, proof of citizenship to register to vote in the United States is Jim Crow. That's the position of the Democrats right now. That's the position of the Democrats right now. And you got to, again, when we're out there making these real world connections with our independent friends, when we're out there talking to people, when we're out there, building these coalitions to help win the midterms, you can ask an independent, why do Democrats so passionately, oppose requiring proof of citizenship to vote in our elections? Why are they so dead set against it? Why are they dead set against it to the point of comparing it to Jim Crow? Why? There's only one answer, right? There's only one answer. Why are the Democrats trying to make it easier to cheat? So that they can cheat easier, right? That's it. They make it easier to cheat so they can cheat more easily. That's what they're doing. It's clear as day. The fact that we don't have this talking filibuster in place in the Senate hurts us because now the Democrats basically say, oh, we don't want to pass it. They come up with a reason why not to pass it, and they just stay home. Now, if this comes into play where they have to stand up and speak, they're going to look like fools reading out of a phone book so they can go on and on and on and on and on. President Trump has urged Republicans to keep the government open while negotiations continue. There can be no changes. Trump wants no changes to the funding bill. 35 members of Congress have formally demanded that Mitch McConnell stop blocking the SAVE Act from advancing out of the Senate Rules Committee. Brandon Gill summed it up also yesterday on X. 83% of Americans want proof of citizenship to vote, but the Senate has done nothing for 300 days. The House did its job. The Senate needs to do theirs. John Thune says there are changes being made to the bill, or it hasn't, made it to the committee yet. So there are a lot of moving parts still here. But the bottom line is the filibuster the zombie filibuster may be on its last leg. Okay, and that's the biggest takeaway here. The zombie filibuster may be on its last leg. And for me, and for all of us, I think we should, I know we want to do the all or nothing game. Nuke the whole thing. This will go a long way. Towards having things move through the Senate a little smoother. This will go a long way. So, again, nothing has been formally confirmed yet. Right now, it's, well, we've been told that this will happen. We'll be told that that'll happen. Nothing has been formally confirmed yet, as far as I can tell. However, it is looking ever what are the words I'm looking for? I have no idea. It's looking more likely that that's going to be that's going to be what takes place. So keep pressuring, keep pushing, call your senators, and let's make this happen, and let's get that over the finish line. Again, why do the Democrats oppose so fiercely requiring proof of citizenship to vote? Why would Democrats want it to be easier for non-citizens to vote in our elections? Because without the SAVE Act, you don't have the requirement that you have to show proof of citizenship to register to vote. People say, oh, it's still a crime if you're, a non-citizen to vote in the United States of America. How do you catch that person? You can't. Anytime you question voting that goes on in an election, people flip out anyway. So you can't catch them unless you're like standing with the person committing the crime, voting when they're not supposed to be voting. And you're a federal law enforcement officer, or you report it and you document it, right? So the question to ask your independent friends essentially is, why do Democrats want to make it easier for non-citizens to vote in our elections? Our elections are for us, U.S. citizens. It's not for the rest of the world. It's not for people who came into the country illegally. It's not for people who are in the country legally but aren't citizens. Only U.S. citizens can vote in federal elections. Why do the Democrats want to make it easier for non-citizens to vote in federal elections? What do they know? What are they gathering from their data? Well, it's quite obvious to all of us that they feel if non-citizens in the United States vote in federal elections, it would favor Democrats. If non-citizens in the United States voting in our elections favored Republicans, it would be Democrats trying to pass the SAVE Act. So a step in the right direction here looks like is imminent. The zombie filibuster may be on the way out. The talking filibuster may be on the way back, meaning if you want to block legislation in the Senate via the filibuster, it's no longer just you don't have 60 votes. It's you got to get up, you got to speak, you have to debate. And once that debate is over, it only takes 50 votes to pass. That's going to help move some of the roadblocks and some of the log jams that are sitting there in the Senate. And I think it is now our job, our duty, seeing as how we are so close to the end zone here, so close to getting this ball over the goal line. It's time for us to give it that extra kick, that extra nudge. Call your senators and encourage them not to nuke the filibuster as a whole, but to get rid of the zombie filibuster rule and revive the talking or standing filibuster. That would go a long way to achieve the results that we're looking to achieve. All right. Let me take a quick break and we'll get to a word from our friends over at goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. It is goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. And then, folks, we're gonna commend the Department of Justice here. Okay? They're doing some good things, and what we do on the show, you know how I feel about Bondi, and Todd Blanche apparently fired Ed Martin yesterday, so no good. He's no longer the head of the weaponization working group. That's a problem, according to Paul Sperry, and Paul Sperry has been extremely reliable. It's not just Paul Sperry who's reporting this, but a lot of other people are reporting it as well. So I don't love that, but some of the things here that Bondi has done have been very good. And so if we're going to criticize her when she does things or, says things that aren't great, we do have to give credit where it's due. These are two very nice things that we saw from the DOJ, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But first, a word from our friends at goldencrestmetals.com/LFA.
I'm sure by now you've heard that silver went up 160% last year, 2025. I bought this silver for $22 an ounce. It's now worth almost $100. And we and experts think that silver is going to get up to about $200 an ounce. Palladium and platinum were stuck at $900 an ounce for like over a year, or in that area. Now they're up over $2,000. Gold is approaching $5,000 an ounce. If you have ever thought about putting some or all of your retirement or nest egg or savings or just buying bullion in precious metals, now's the time to do it. goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. That's goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. Go leave your name, your email, and your phone number. Schedule a time to talk to the folks over at Golden Crest Metals. Get your free gold guide today, and make sure you tune in on Saturdays at 1 p.m. for the Crest Report, where we dive deep into precious metals, why they're doing what they're doing, and where we expect them to go. It is like insider trading. Nancy Pelosi knows about that. We don't. It's just inside information. It's not even really that. It's called knowledge. Get yours today and get a part of gold, silver, palladium, and platinum and diversify your portfolio today. goldencrestmetals.com/LFA.
All right, goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. Thank you, Golden Crest. And of course, thank you, Jeremy, for being a part of the show. The Department of Justice doing things that, makes me at least, I'm not going to say excited. This is it, turning point. Here we go. We're going to do it. But this is at least, again, a step in the right direction. And what we do, as we always say, we give credit where it's due. So here we go. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced yesterday the arrest of 2 more Minnesota church agitators. All right, it's only 2 arrests. It's not enough. What about the Epstein files? What about this? What about that? This is a step in the right direction. Now, you know what I've been saying about these activists. Of course, I want to go after the funding and the people who are, organizing this and all that. Yes, and that should still happen. This should not replace that. I don't think this is going to replace that. What I'm saying here is the low-level people, all right? You know, these high-level funders, these people with all the money, the NGOs, we hear all about it. Those people are going to have access to high-powered resources, legal resources, in order to stave off charges and in order to keep quiet and not incriminate themselves and not shut down the operation. When you go after the small fish, right, the actual shock troops on the ground, like you see in Minnesota, when you go after them, there's a better chance that they, to save their own asses, are going to roll, right? And give up maybe some of the bigger fish. Pam Bondi announced on Monday that 2 more agitators have been arrested in connection with the Minnesota church protest. There was a riot and there was an attack, an assault last month. Former CNN anchor Don Lemon joined anti-ICE protesters inside a church in Minnesota, accusing the pastor of being a U.S. Immigration and Customs agent. In a live YouTube video recorded by Don Lemon, you saw the whole thing. The agitators also harassed families with young children and even blocked exits. On Monday, yesterday, Pam Bondi announced the arrest of Ian Davis Austin and Jerome D'Angelo Richardson, 2 among the 9 who were present that day, including Don Lemon and Georgia Fort, both of whom were named in an indictment that a federal grand jury returned last week. Quote, if you riot in a place of worship, we will find you. We have made 2 more arrests in connection with the coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. Ian Davis Austin and Jerome D'Angelo Richardson. This is good. Okay? This is good because this is what accountability looks like, and this is what the process looks like. Okay? It's a good thing. This is not me saying, yay, we have a great attorney general. This is me saying, all right. Good job. That's it. We say bad job when we think there's a bad job being done. We say good job when there's a good job being done. I want to see, because what does going after these agitators, the actual, grunts on the ground, what does that do? Oh, they're not going to see any jail time. Oh, they're not getting locked up. Oh, they're not going to pay a fine. Oh, they'll get off. Oh, nothing's going to happen to them. Stop that talk. Something is happening to them. They're going to trial. They have to defend themselves in court. That is not easy. Defending yourself against federal charges is not easy. Now, are they going to crowdfund? Are they going to maybe get some help from the Democrats? Probably. But it is still something that these people have to go through. I'm not talking even about Don Lemon at this point. I'm talking about the activists, the people who went into that building feeling all big and bold and high and mighty, and now have caught some federal charges and have to defend themselves. What does that do, though? Think past just this case. When other people who are organizing with these groups, Black Lives Matter, ICE Watch, Free Palestine, whoever, because they're all the same, you're going to see them go, well, hold on. If we do this, whatever the next operation is, am I going to catch federal charges like some of those other people? Is what we're doing illegal? My point here is bringing charges against the low-level agitators, protesters, activists, troops, shock troops, ground troops, grunts, whatever you want to call them, pawns, right? Bringing charges against them places doubt in the minds of people thinking of doing it again, right? That's the point. Do you know how many people I heard from after January 6th? Not because of the day itself, but because of the reaction that the federal government took against January 6th defendants. When we were trying to organize protests and rallies and things like that on Long Island, do you know how many people I had tell me it's a trap? Do you know how many people I had tell me don't protest, it's a trap? Do you know how many people I had super skeptical about any MAGA rally that was taking place anywhere because they thought, oh my goodness, if I go to that peaceful protest, what happened to the J6 people is going to happen to me? Okay? That's the doubt that we need. That's the PSYOP, psychological operation, that we need to engage in to combat the left. Go after these low-level people so that when more low-level people are organizing and getting ready to either storm another church or riot in front of another federal building or whatever it might be, they go, whoa, 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 whoa. 9 people who did this last time all caught charges, and now they're going to be mired in this legal defense for a while against the federal government. I don't want that to happen to me. I'm not doing that. This is why what the Department of Justice is doing here, going after these low-level people, is very important. It is demoralizing. It sows seeds of doubt in the minds of a lot of these left-wing agitators. You may think, oh, you're thinking too far. I've lived this. After January 6th, it was very difficult to convince MAGA supporters that protesting peacefully was safe and a protected right of theirs. Very difficult, and understandably so. Because we never said we're going to go riot in front of someone's house. We're going to go do things and break the law and engage in criminal behavior. That was never our MO. That is the left's MO. Rioting is illegal. Federally, it is illegal. Blocking roadways is illegal federally. Assaulting, impeding, interfering with federal officers is illegal. We've read that statute, 18 U.S.C. Section 111. We've read that statute. Okay, I think 18 U.S. Code Section 233 is civil disorder. That's blocking the roadway. I want them to feel the same way about what they're doing as MAGA supporters and Trump supporters felt about peacefully protesting after January 6th. Because there's a difference. I support, you may not like this, I support anybody on the left's right to peacefully protest. You may not like it, but they don't protest peacefully. Most of them don't. Some of them stand there with a sign. If they're standing there with a sign that says ICE out now, I may think they're an idiot, but they have the right to do it. Okay? One of the best things about the First Amendment is I may not have to agree with what you're saying, but I will always defend your right to say it so long as what you're saying is in accordance with the law. You're not inciting violence. You can say the dumbest thing in the world. ICE is the Gestapo. ICE out now. They're arresting American citizens. You're wrong, but those are just words, right? Those are just words. I will never say that the left should not peacefully protest. They cannot break the law. So I am totally cool, and I'm very excited about what we're seeing here from Bondi. Here's another one. Pam Bondi. Did you guys hear about this? You probably did. Very quietly last week, Pam Bondi tapped a federal special prosecutor to investigate election fraud across the entire country. Did you hear about this? I read about this yesterday and I was like, whoa. That's pretty freaking significant. The St. Louis-based U.S. attorney overseeing the FBI search warrant executed on Fulton County's election office last week received a special appointment by Attorney General Pam Bondi to investigate election integrity cases nationwide. Thomas Albus, the Trump-appointed chief prosecutor in the Eastern District of Missouri, appeared on the FBI's court-approved warrant rather than the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia. That enabled agents to seize records from the Atlanta government building at the center of the president's discredited, they say this is from Bloomberg, 2020 election conspiracy. It's not discredited, and you guys are going to see, everybody's going to see it's not discredited. Bondi had previously handed Albus, formerly the top assistant to then Missouri Attorney General, he's now the senator, Eric Schmidt, great guy, authority to conduct voter fraud probes anywhere in the United States under a statutorily permitted designation. The 28 U.S. Code Section 515 appointment allows Albus to coordinate civil and criminal cases, including grand jury proceedings in all 94 U.S. attorney districts across the country. This is huge. Absolutely massive. Massive news on the election integrity front. So now this guy has the ability to impanel grand juries. Now this guy has the ability to bring civil cases as well. Albus's previously unreported role shows the Justice Department's coordinated efforts to relitigate President Trump's false claims. No, these are claims that have never been investigated. That ballot tampering in Fulton County and elsewhere cost him the 2020 election. DOJ's Civil Rights Division has sued multiple states to compel them to hand over voter registration rolls. Multiple outlets reported Wednesday that the FBI searched Fulton County election office and retrieved ballots from the 2020 election. The New York Times, which was, we don't trust the New York Times, but they cited a copy of the search warrant, reported that it involved federal laws barring the destruction of election-related records and procuring fraudulent voter registration and votes. Albus was confirmed as a U.S. attorney in December, so there's Senate confirmation. No problems there. He worked at Bryan Cave and then in the office as an assistant U.S. attorney from 2002 to 2019. A lot of experience before joining the Missouri Attorney General's office as Eric Schmidt's first assistant. Eric Schmidt is one of the best senators that we have in the Senate right now. He was sworn in as a St. Louis County Circuit judge in 2020. Schmidt and other GOP attorneys, just to show you who Eric Schmidt is and who he was, and back when he was the Attorney General of Missouri, he backed Texas's 2020 election challenge lawsuit that went up to the Supreme Court and was tossed. In a Senate floor speech in December, Eric Schmidt, who again previously served as a Republican senator, he served as their Attorney General, and now he served as the Missouri Senator since 2023, said Albus, the now Special Prosecutor, had appeared in nearly 900 federal criminal prosecutions in civil matters and tried 15 cases to verdict. Schmidt called him sharp, serious, and a lifelong proponent of law and order. You're not going to see this all over the news, and it may be a while before things start turning up in these probes, but Thomas Albus has the authority now to conduct criminal and civil investigations in all 94 districts across the United States relating to election fraud, specifically regarding the 2020 election. Are we in Mo territory?
We are.
Okay.
I was supposed to bounce him off your head, but I can't reach him.
Where are we at right now, numbers?
We're at 833.
Okay, cool.
Not bad. Oh, Mo. All
right, there he is. Sorry, hedgehog. Yesterday was hedgehog day. I hope you had a good hedgehog day.
Good morning, Mo.
By the way,
what?
When I was on 1210 WPHD with Anna Hummel yesterday, we went through the lineage of Groundhog Day. It was Hedgehog Day in Germany.
Really?
But there's not as many hedgehogs in the United States. There's more groundhogs. Yeah. So in 1887, they took that tradition from Europe and applied it in Pennsylvania. And that's where the whole Punxsutawney...
It's the remix.
It's right. It's because there's not a lot of hedgehogs here, but there's a lot of groundhogs. So
we don't have more.
It originally was Hedgehog Day, but now it's Groundhog Day. So there you go. Little fun fact for you. All right. Quick break. I want to get to a word from our friends over at Silent, SLNT.com, SLNT.com/Sean. And then I'll give you some news on Bill and Hillary Clinton. Folks, let's face it. We love our phones. Our phones do a wonderful job keeping us connected, but they are also tracking us every single place we go 24/7, unless you're using Silent, right? Your phone's a tracking device between government agencies, big tech, corporate data brokers, even those pesky cyber criminals and scammers. They're all fighting for a piece of your digital footprint. The worst part about it is they don't ask. They just go on and they take it. That is why Silent exists. Silent makes Faraday gear that blocks all wireless signals, including cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, RFID, and near-field communications. You know what no signal means? It means no tracking. It means no remote access. It means no breadcrumbs. It's the same technology trusted by special ops teams around the world, used to block signals to avoid surveillance and secure communications wherever the mission leads. And right now, all that's available to you to protect your family, to protect your freedom, and to secure your digital footprint. All you got to do is drop your phone in a silent Faraday sleeve, and it is completely off the grid. Totally silent and invisible to the outside world. From their backpacks to their sleeves to their crossbodies, Silent's patented technology gives you control of your privacy. All you got to do is go to slnt.com/Sean. Get 15% off and free shipping on qualifying orders. That is slnt.com/SHAWN. Protect your rights, secure your data, and stay one step ahead. Silent.com. Silence the chaos. And, of course, go silent today. Silent.com, slnt.com, promo code SHAWN. All right. Bill and Hillary Clinton, they were found or about to be held in contempt by the full House. The House Oversight Committee passed a contempt resolution. Now they have been compelled, essentially, to testify. And that is the point of issuing or voting to hold somebody in contempt. Usually it doesn't get to where Bannon and Navarro got to, where they just continued to refuse to comply, continued to ignore the subpoena, continued to not give in, and then they were thrown in jail. The goal, obviously, is to avoid that for most people. So, former President Bill Clinton and failed 2016 presidential candidate Crooked Hillary Clinton have agreed to testify in the House as a part of an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Angel Urena, a spokesperson for Bill Clinton, wrote in response to a post from the House Oversight Committee, quote, "They negotiated in good faith. You did not. They told you under oath what they know, but you don't care. But the former president and former Secretary of State will be there. They look forward to setting a precedent that applies to everyone." James Comer, the House Oversight Committee chair, wrote in a letter earlier in the day, rejecting proposals issued by attorneys for the Clintons. A vote was expected to come this week regarding holding the Clintons in contempt, coming after the Oversight Committee had voted to advance the contempt resolutions to the House floor, and the Rules Committee met on Monday to approve the resolutions. So the pressure worked. The Clintons are now going to be testifying in this probe. We'll see what happens. Maybe a perjury trap here or there. Certainly something that Bill Clinton has done before, lying to Congress. So we'll see what happens. All right. This very, very quick news here. Trump and India, or he announced that India and the United States have agreed on some sort of deal here. India is apparently going to stop buying Russian oil, which is going to essentially take a major buyer away from Russia, which will hurt them in their efforts to fund the Ukraine war. Right? So this is Donald Trump essentially waging economic warfare on Russia through India. It's a good move. It's a complex move. We'll, again, cautious optimism, healthy skepticism. Will India live up to their word? Will they buy Russian oil on the black market, behind closed doors without people seeing? I don't know. Okay, but it's a good step in the right direction there, finally. I really wanted to get to this today. March Madness said, Bill Clinton said, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman." He thought they were talking about Hillary. That's funny. That's pretty funny. All right. The NFL. Roger Goodell cannot get out of his own way. Why even go here is my question. Why even go here? Why even say anything is my question if you're Roger Goodell. Just leave this topic alone. Nobody wants to hear virtue signaling from the commissioner of the National Football League. Just shut up and run the league. That's it. Roger Goodell says the NFL has work to do after no black head coaches were hired this offseason. Work to do. The NFL doesn't have to do anything. If you're worth hiring, you get hired. They have the Rooney Rule, which says that every team who is searching for a head coach has to interview a person of color, black candidate. If they choose to hire somebody else because they think that person is more qualified than the other candidates, that's how it works. The NFL had record 10 head coaching vacancies at the end of the year. 10. And 0 of them were filled by a black head coach. In response, Roger Goodell opened his stupid mouth and said, the league has work to do. Quote, I believe diversity is good for us. Goodell said in response to a reporter's question about the lack of black hires, I think we have become more diverse across every platform, including coaching, but we still have more work to do. There's got to be more steps, and we're evaluating everything that we're doing, including our accelerator program and including every aspect of our policies and our programs. What are you doing, bro? Shut up. Nobody wants to hear this. If a team fires their coach and they hire somebody else, it's about equal opportunity, right? Equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. That's equity. You have a rule in place that says every team has to interview a black candidate. So they're picking other candidates that they think are more qualified. Moreover, Todd Bowles, black, head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. D'Amico Ryans, black, head coach of the Houston Texans. Aaron Glenn, black, head coach of the New York Jets. And you want to talk about diversity? Aaron Glenn, the head coach of the New York Jets, was a cornerback, CB, in the NFL, a defender. His previous role was the defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. The guy is supposed to know how to coach defense. Came to the Jets. Their defense made history this year and did not intercept a single pass. They didn't even have an interception called back for a penalty. Diversity is good. That guy's unqualified, but he's black, so we don't hear about it. You know, I was sitting there thinking, why didn't the Jets fire Aaron Glenn? Probably this asshole is why. Roger Goodell. Because if you fire a black head coach, oh, you must be a racist. Do me a favor, Goodell. Shut up and run the league. Let your teams, let the owners of those teams, let the general managers of those teams hire whoever they want. You have the Rooney Rule, which means black candidates have to be interviewed. And it's nobody's fault if they bomb those interviews or if those teams decide to go somewhere else. And it's certainly not racism. There's black players all over the league. And there's black coaches all over the league. But he has to open his mouth. We have some work to do. No, you don't. Shut up and play the game. Shut up and run the league. Jeremy Harrell coming up next right here on LFA TV, rumble.com/LFA TV for the next 2 hours. We got to go, as you can tell. I'm hurting in the throat department here. Jeremy Harrell coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you hit the follow button. Subscribe to us anywhere you get your podcast by searching for Ungoverned, as President Trump says. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never ever surrender. And if all else fails, we'll just become ungovernable. Thank you. God bless you. God bless this one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Rumble.com/LFA TV, 10 a.m. Eastern time for Ungoverned. Until then, bang gavel. Good night, everybody. And thank you for your attention to this matter. Jeremy Harrell up next.